Good morning. It's 8:20 here on the ticket. The Musers in New Orleans, Media Row, Super Bowl 59, just a few days away. The entire ticket team is here all week long. We've had a great time in the Big Easy. Coming up at 8:40, George is going to take out the wireless here on Media Row. You do this every year.
It's long-time tradition.
We'll see who he can run into, maybe some other shows from around the country. So George with the wireless at 8:40. If you were listening to the Troy Aikman Show, which happens every Thursday during the football season with us at 7:55, you heard at the end, Darren Woodson, the great Cowboys safety, saying hi to his old teammate, Troy Aikman. Those 3 Super Bowls seem like a long time ago, but it was good to have Emmett on and Troy, and Darren stays with us now. Thanks for the time. And
man, thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. Always great to see you. Before we talk football, let's talk Choctaw Casino and Resort, because we're going to be up there next Friday doing our show.
Yeah, and you guys have been there. You guys understand what I'm talking about.
It's a great place.
It's been an 8-year relationship with Choctaw with myself, and I know where the players play with Emmett and Troy and Pudge now, and we're doing a lot of things. But for me personally, I've been going back and forth up to Choctaw for the last 8 years, and it's just been a fantastic relationship. I take my entire family. They have a new casino and resort that's there now. They have the outdoor swimming pool, which is
place is huge.
It's huge. And you know, my kids are out there. We have a good time. They have the one of the casinos is non-smoking in it, so it's up to speed. It's fantastic. And then you have the venue, the concert venue, which has been spectacular. I mean, I send not only myself but friends up to watch concerts, and also making that 90-minute drive north. It's just an easy drive.
Yeah.
And it's the best casino resort in the country.
Well, I go there because that's, as you said, it's where players play. Ballers ball.
Ballers ball.
Yeah, that's why I go.
I see.
Ballers ball.
I hear that.
Well, you certainly did that when you were with the Cowboys, all-time leading tackler, part of some incredible defenses, 3 Super Bowls, finalist now for the Pro Football Hall of Fame again. I know it's always you're on pins and needles. You're waiting for the big announcement, but we've, like Troy, we don't have the influence of Troy, but on our show we always talk about you should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Do you fear that because it was so long ago that you have to explain maybe to some of the younger committee members what the Cowboys were in the 90s?
I can't. I mean, there's no way that I could, impress upon, what we did offensively or defensively. I can say this. So I think defensively, Charles Haley is the only player on the defensive side of the ball that's made it to the Hall of Fame. He came and a lot of his damage was done when he was playing with the 49ers. He had, a couple of Super Bowl wins there, but when he came over and now he's in the Hall of Fame, but there is such a discredit to what that team was back in the 90s. Like the first Super Bowl, we had 9 turnovers. We created 9 turnovers that game, and it was a blowout win. But the entire season, we were in the top 3. So there's so many players like the Tony Toberts, the James Washingtons, Thomas Everett's of the world, the Ken Norton Jr. There's so many players that when you watch that team that, if I ever get into the Hall of Fame, if it ever happens, I'm paying homage to those guys who don't have the opportunity to get there or who were never really recognized for what they did. And for years, man, we were a top 3 defense in the league. And I know the other side of the ball got a lot of the credit with the big 3, but we've always felt like defense wins championships, and we played at our best in those championship games.
Yeah. And you've got certainly a Hall of Fame resume. As George mentioned, Cowboys all-time leading tackler. You're in the Ring of Honor. That usually helps pave the way. And you were first-team All-Pro during those Super Bowl years. And I know you've had a lot of people stumping for you. The announcement's going to come out tonight. I've heard players take different approaches toward this. Some players really, really want it badly, and they're crushed if it doesn't happen. Others, I think, was it Harry Carson that said, "I don't even care if I'm in the Hall of Fame."
Yeah, they're let me in. I'm not going to
go. Taking the approach that it's out of my control.
It is.
So there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Which side do you
that's
fall
the thought I fall in. Look, it's out of my control. But there's a learning lesson here as well. And here's the learning lesson. So all those years that I played, I always had guys like Jean-Jacques Taylor who used to always say, hey, man, you need to promote yourself. You're playing multiple positions. You're doing A, B, and C. You need to, talk about being on the all-decade. And he told me this early on, like mid-90s. Like, you should be on the all-decade team. Mm-hmm. You need to, promote yourself. And I was like, nah, man, it's all about winning championships. And that's what, I never really controlled the narrative of my career in the fact of being more vocal about who I was as a player, right?
Yeah.
Nor is that my makeup. So it never was that way. But here's a learning lesson. Because you don't control the narrative and you allow other people to control the narrative, you don't have control.
Right.
Right. So I'm at the control of every writer that watched or didn't watch the games now to decide where I am as far as my legacy is concerned, or if I make the Hall of Fame. But the learning curve process came in when I went into the business world. I told myself back then, I'm going to control the narrative.
Yeah.
I'm going to win with the business because I'm in control, but I'm never going to allow someone else to control what's going on in my life. If I want to win in business, if I want to scale the business, if I want to go through an acquisition later on, I have to control it. And I've learned that through my time in the NFL because I didn't tell Mike Zimmer and Dave Campbell, hey, I just want to play safety. I don't want to play the nickel guy. I don't want to chase Bud around. I want to play the safety position, hit guys, see where the quarterback's doing, go get interceptions. I was always the guy who played safety, nickel, corner, linebacker, everything.
Yeah.
And special teams as well. So,
well, if I was stumping for you, I would have these copy points. The one about leading tackler for sure. But you mentioned all those defensive players. A lot of those guys left. You stayed. Continue to put up a very high level of performance, even when the team tailed off. And I would also say this about you. I think you were ahead of your time. We see a lot of players like you now that are very versatile, could play basically safety or linebacker. I wonder if maybe you set off some that you created influence with coaches to think, wow, wait a minute. Okay, we don't have to just have the prototypical guy at safety or linebacker. I mean, you played all over the place.
Yeah, and I think that was the makeup of what Dave Campos saw when he drafted me. One, knew when I could play multiple positions, but then Mike Zimmer really elevated that when he came on as a coach as well, because he knew that he didn't have to take me off the field and bring a cornerback in to cover the slot receiver or match up with the Tony Gonzalez's of the world or whoever the tight end was. He could just leave me in the game. And I think that's where the benefit came in for us to, the versatility helped in those situations, but it also helped on special teams because I played with a guy in our special teams coach, Joe Abazano, who forced me to run down on kickoff, punt return. I did a little bit of everything on those sides, on that side of the ball too. But for me, it was always, and it was similar to what Troy just talked about earlier. It's like it was knowing your role at one point, but it was also about winning championships. And I'm a little different than Troy in the fact that he doesn't think about the fact that we could have went 3 in a row or maybe possibly 4 in a row. I always wanted to win. And I still think about the fact that we should have won 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah.
But my role and my job in my mind was whatever it takes to win those championships at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is the great Darren Woodson with us here, Media Row in New Orleans, the Cowboys Ring of Honor member. We'll find out tonight the announcement, the Hall of Fame class of 2025. He's again a finalist. Those 3 Super Bowls, I think we've talked to Troy and Emmett. Want to get your thoughts on this too. Does one stand out more than the others? They all say it was the first one because it was the first one.
Hands down. It was the first one. And it was the first one for me because I came in as a rookie. I was 22, 23 years old. And I remember after that game, after we won that game, the game was over within the fourth quarter. It was pretty much over and guys were celebrating. But I remember going back in the locker room and watching Mark Tuinei and Bill Bates on the ground. So Bill Bates his locker was right next to mine. And they were on the ground crying, and I, back then we're partying. I'm 23 years old. I was like, why are you guys on the ground crying about this? And we just, won the Super Bowl. So
they made it through the transition from Landry to Jimmy.
And and I had a Big Buck, who was our trainer, our head equipment manager, came up and he was sitting there next to me, and he said, "Look, those guys are on the ground crying," because I was trying to pull them up to celebrate. He said, "Let them just lay there. Let them lay there." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Those guys went through." Coach Landry, you just said it. went through Coach Landry, went through 1-15, went through the transition to Jimmy, and he just named these. And I was like, damn, dude, here I am my first year.
Thinking, hey, this is easy.
Yeah, this is easy. Yeah, they're 10 years in the league.
Yeah.
And they've gone through so much. And here I am in my first year, man. And it's hard, man. It's honestly, we got right back on it. Went back to back. And when Jimmy left, it was like you realized how hard it was to get back there.
Absolutely. And after you won that second one, did you ever dream that next year, similar to headlines from the last week in Dallas, that it would get blown to smithereens and Jerry and Jimmy would break up?
No. I mean, I couldn't. I was in the moment, man. I'm serious. Like, I was so young as a player. I didn't know any better but to win championships, right? I came into the league, 92, 93, winning the championships. And I was so into where we were going as far as history was concerned. Hey, I didn't know any better but to win next year. And we were loaded. Man, we had a young team coming back. And, with the same coaching staff, familiarity, same guys in that locker room. I just felt like we were on the road to win the next one. Didn't matter what San Francisco was doing.
Right.
Didn't matter what Buffalo or anybody else was doing. If we took care of business within our locker room, we were going to win again the next years.
Yeah, for sure. We've known Darren Woodson for a long time. We go back 30 years with Woody. How is it that in that time, George and I look like hell, and you have not changed at all?
Yeah, right.
You really haven't, man.
Oh, please.
You look
surgeries
exactly
later.
Like you did 30 years ago.
My body don't feel like that. You ask my wife, man, I get up in the morning, my body is hurting. And I don't wish that on
anybody. You made 700 taccles, though. You have a good reason for it.
We just sit and talk.
Yeah, we're just messing around.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
It's
a good thing.
Well, we can't thank you enough for stopping by. Always great to see you. Good luck tonight.
I appreciate it.
Like we all say, we're keeping our fingers crossed for you.
Yeah.
And have a good time here in New Orleans.
I appreciate it. Have a good time at Choctaw next week.
Okay, you'll ball out next week.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
we're going to drop your name up there, okay?
I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
That's the great Darren Woodson with us here, Media Row in New Orleans. It's 8:32 on the ticket. Coming up next, it's a tradition.